Good evening.
Good evening.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you and see you just fine. And we're going to go live in 5 minutes and counting.
Okay.
If you can mute your mic for me, because we're actually already live, we'll just go right into it at our 7 o'clock hour.
I already was.
Okay, thank you.
Live chat with Danita.
And good evening, everybody, and welcome to Live Talk with Benita Bradley. I am your host, Benita Bradley, and we have another exciting guest with us tonight, and we're going to introduce her in just a second. Let's get all of our preliminaries out of the way. We want to say good evening to Periscope Twitter, good evening to our three platforms across Facebook, good evening to YouTube, and good evening to Instagram. And we hope that you all had a wonderful day. It's Tuesday, and so if you haven't had a good day, there's always tomorrow, Lord willing. So, our guest tonight, this is actually our first female guest for 2020. Actually, she's our first female guest in a long time. So, I'm excited about this, and because I get asked so much, why don't you have women on the show? Well, I asked, but it is what it is. So we have our first female guest for 2020 on our show, and I'm going to let her introduce herself. She has done so much, um, and I do want to say right off the bat, she is a veteran. So thank you so much for your service, for all you have sacrificed. We all thank you so much for that. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I currently live in Suffolk, Virginia with my blended family.
Mm-hmm.
I've been married for almost 2 years to my
Mm-hmm.
husband, and I was married before. I have two wonderful young men, both getting ready to graduate, one from Hampton University in Hampton, Virginia, and one from high school.
Awesome.
So we have a lot of excitement and a lot of things going on right now.
Right.
Um, I am I'm 44.
Mhm.
I'm actually from Virginia. I was
Wonderful.
living, yeah, a wonderful 44.
Yeah.
Um, I'm actually from Virginia. So I lived in Georgia for about 5 years and then
Mhm.
moved back up here in 2018
Mhm.
for one of the reasons that we'll be talking today.
Right.
So we are, we've been settled in here almost 4 years now.
Yeah.
The blessed part is I'm about 4 minutes from my parents, which is excellent as they mature. So I'm
Right.
here to make sure that they have somebody taking care of them and making sure they're behaving. So,
Right.
so making sure everyone's taking the meds, going to appointments, making appointments. So I
Mhm.
work from home, which is a blessing. So I've been able to maintain my job and
Mhm.
I love what I do. I
Right.
do a lot of other things on the side. I love
Mhm.
baking. I love crafting. I love
Mhm.
hanging out with my sister friends. I love being with my family. I like doing a lot of stuff. My favorite thing, traveling. If I
Yeah.
can go somewhere, especially in the Caribbean,
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
there as frequently as I possibly can
Yeah.
get
Your
there.
destination wedding was everything.
Yes.
It was absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
It was
Thank you.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Absolutely beautiful. Everything was just beautiful about it. Um, your boys, your boys are so smart. They are absolutely intelligent. And I just want to say, I don't know if you did it all as a single parent before you got married, if their dad was in the picture or what have you, but hats off, honey, because those boys are smart. They're incredibly smart. So hats off to you. If their father was in their life, hats off to the father, what have you. But hey, hats off to you.
Thank you. A lot of hard work. Yep.
Yeah.
A lot of hard work, but it. And my oldest is now, he's like, thank you, for everything that I've done to get him where he is. And just
Yeah.
to hear that, it just does your heart well because, there's no blueprint to parenting. I
Right.
can't parent them both the same way.
Yep.
So I just always prayed, Lord, just show me what to do and what to say and how to say um, what they need to hear. And
Yeah.
even now, he's almost 22 years old, but, you know, for me to give advice, I seek God first.
Right.
You know, it's something I don't understand. I'll talk to, the men in my life,
Mm-hmm.
or I'll send them to their dad, you
Right.
know. But, for the most part, I can't say that I've had problems,
Right.
any problems with them at all. And that within itself is a blessing
It
because I
is.
was determined that they would not be statistics.
Yes.
So I tried to show them, how to live and how to be good people because I could
Mhm.
never show them how to be men because
Right.
I'm obviously not,
Right.
but I could show them how to be good people and I could show them how to love God and to seek God on their own behalf. And when they couldn't do it for themselves, seek the elders of the church, even if the
Yep.
elder was me.
Yep.
So,
You sure was.
we definitely have depended on our faith.
Hmm.
There's no way that they would be who they are right now or where they are right now without just a lot of prayer.
Right. Let's go back to something I think is really key that you just said, and I want to hone in on this because, particularly in our culture, we have this thing that we think that when the father is not in the home per se, we think that it's okay to say that we're mother and father, but we're not. We're still just mother. You said
Right.
something very key that the one thing you could not teach them was how to be men.
Right.
And I think that's so key that we understand as women, first of all, it's not our job.
Right.
It's not our place. We're not equipped to
Mm-mm.
teach a boy how to
No,
be a man. We're not
absolutely
we're,
not.
we're not physically equipped. We're not mentally equipped. We're not psychologically equipped because we don't go through. We don't feel what they feel. Our bodies mature differently. All
Exactly.
of that comes into play. So when you realize that, why was that so important for you to get that? Hey, listen, I can give you all the help in the world, but when it comes to showing you, teaching you how to
Mhm.
be a man, that's where my limitations are.
Right. But well, the one thing was I wasn't a man.
Right.
My father was always in the home, so I always had a great example of what
Mhm.
men and gentlemen should do. And I
Mhm.
started teaching them from an early age, chivalry and how to
Mhm.
open doors, how to go on a date.
Right.
This is how you make a reservation, and this is what you
Mhm.
do. You open doors. So the things that I could teach them as their
Right.
mother, I did.
Mhm.
And I had to rely on other men in my life to give
Mhm.
them those real life lessons in being a man.
Right.
It was simple for me. I'm just not a man. There's no
Right.
way I could be mother and father. I don't want a happy Father's Day card. I'm not your father.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
and it was, also it was, um, there's a lot of talk about gender roles, and I mean, I'm not a man.
Right.
I'm a she. I'm a her. That's just me. I
Right.
can't teach you something I don't know. I
That's
can look up and I can read things, but and then for on top of not being able to teach him how to be a man, how to be a black man,
yes.
because that was a completely different type of discussion we had to have.
Right. Right.
I could tell them from what I'd seen and what I'd experienced, but they
Uh-huh.
had to speak with other men. They had to speak with their
Yes.
dad and their granddad to fully understand
Mhm.
these are the things that you do as a man.
Mhm.
And many things, I can show you under the hood of a car. I can show you how to
Right.
change a tire and filters and all that stuff. I could,
Right.
but I don't
Right.
want to. Now, I'll show them the basics, but I feel
Mhm.
like certain things when they come from that male person, it sticks a little more.
Yeah.
There's,
I
all types of
too.
studies even
Mhm.
about the sound of a woman's voice that, when children hear a man's voice, their response is different.
Right.
So I mean, I have a heavy voice, but it's not a man's voice. I'm
Exactly.
still mom. So I'm
Right.
the mom voice that you're used to hearing. So there's a different response when
Right.
we lived with my parents after divorce. It was a different response. My dad got a different response than what
Mhm.
I got or what my mom got, you know.
Okay.
So it
Mhm.
wasn't that same thing because dad can say something in a certain way
Mhm.
and they quickly respond,
Yeah.
whereas I could be saying it all day long
Mhm.
and you get back talk and things like that. So
Yeah.
it's just, I feel it's important, even if the children don't have a relationship with their father, that there are some type of positive male role models that can step in
Mhm.
and kind of intercede on
Yeah.
your behalf to get
Yeah.
things done, because they have to understand and they have to learn to listen to authority. They
Yeah.
have to
Yeah.
respect authority.
Yeah.
So that was always the number one thing in my home. And we established that very early. And
Yeah.
even though their father and we got divorced when they were younger, that was one thing that he would not tolerate. You won't
Right.
disrespect your mom. We didn't talk bad about each other to them or, around them or any of that, because
Mhm.
certain things, boundaries,
Yeah.
so I think there's a combination of things,
Mhm.
when it comes to that, is knowing your role. My role was their mom. My mom
Mhm.
was, spiritual guide and things
Yeah.
like that. My role was not to be their dad.
Yeah. And I think boys, children in general, but boys specifically, they respond differently to that male authority,
Hmm.
to that voice, to that energy. They respond differently because, like you said, we can tell them something 3 times, but as soon as we say, you know what, I'm tired of talking, let me get your dad on the phone. Okay,
Hmm.
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do
Hmm.
it.
Yep.
The game changes. And
Absolutely.
I don't think it's a lack of respect for us as
Right.
mothers. I just think they have more fear, more fear for that authority of their father,
Hmm.
whereas they see us more lenient and more
Yeah.
compassionate,
Yeah.
and all of that.
Yeah. I was never lenient. I was pretty, yeah. Always pretty, for the most part, pretty strict.
Mhm.
especially in their early years, because those are those fine-tuning years where they learn to follow authority, where they learn to listen.
Right.
So I've always been a stickler for the rules, even
Right.
now. My
Mhm.
son, like I said, my son is almost 22.
Mhm.
The rules, you'll
Yeah.
follow them. It's the rules. The rules apply to everyone
Yeah.
across the board. What I say goes. So,
Yeah.
and it was
Absolutely.
always like that, even
Uh-huh.
now, and so they know, listen, I'm mom, but I'm not. I've never been a softie. It's just
Yeah.
not
I'm
me.
not your
I love
friend.
you.
Yeah.
No, absolutely not. We're not friends. I'm your
I'm
mother.
not your
I'm here to
friend.
help you through. we're
Yeah.
we're never going to be, besties. That's,
Right.
and everybody has a right to determine their relationship with their children.
Right.
My oldest son comes and talks to me about anything, and
Right.
sometimes I'm like, okay, wait.
Boundaries. That's a no.
Yes, exactly. I love you, and there's just certain things, no more than you want to hear them from me, than I want to
Yeah.
hear them from you. So,
Yeah.
I've always been a strict disciplinarian.
Mhm.
Didn't have to use a lot of corporal punishment,
Mhm.
because even when it came to that, they were like, oh, no, no, ma'am.
Right.
Just I'll do whatever it is. Whatever it is
Yeah.
you say.
That's not like me. No, you don't have to. Don't hit me. Don't whip
Mm-mm,
me. Just
mm,
just tell me what you want me to do.
yeah. And a timeout always worked because they
Yeah.
were active, and making them sit still for,
Yeah.
even if it was 1 minute, it was pure torture.
Right.
It's like, I
Especially
can't
with
move. I can't
boys.
go anywhere.
Oh my God.
Yeah, very
Boys.
hyperactive ADD, ADHD boys sitting, having to focus, to sit still and not just get up because you triggered, you saw a light from somewhere. So,
Oh, let me
you
go.
know,
I said sit down.
yeah. Oh yeah. So I didn't, discipline, we established that very early.
Right.
Mom, I'm not your bestie. I'm not your, as we say, I'm not one of your little friends.
Right. We'll say that in
And
a
so
minute.
they've
And
always understood that, and so I'm
mm-hmm.
thankful for that, that they've always been respectful, for the most part. Everybody they have their little teen thing, and
Right.
it doesn't matter if you mom, dad, whoever, that's just part of the
Yeah.
puberty thing, but you
Yeah.
still, the boundaries. You
Mm-hmm.
won't talk to me
Mm-hmm.
crazy. I'm
Yeah.
not, I'm not here for it.
Yeah. I'm still listen, my children are in their 30s. I'm still not here for it.
No,
If I live to see them get 50, I still won't be here for it. We
exactly, will not.
just don't do that.
Right. Oh, I get it. No.
So let's go into your bio a little bit, and then we're gonna get into some other stuff as well that I think you would be the perfect candidate to speak on. Um, we went to church together for a little while, and so I do know you personally. And congratulations on the new home. So
To
congratulations,
God be the glory on that one.
God be the glory.
Whew, that was a lot.
But you know what? I didn't even know that you had left Georgia. You know what? I knew you left Georgia when I saw the pictures, and I was like, "Why does thing say she posting from somewhere else?"
And I
I
don't
was
really
like,
post often, so
"Oh, she go."
yep. It's just
Danita
something
was like,
clean.
"I'm out."
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. When my son
So,
went to college, I came on.
uh, so your parents now are your pastors.
Yes.
So, okay, it says Bishop elect Ernest and co pastor Rose Vaughn.
Yes,
So,
ma'am.
how has that been serving with and under your parents?
Well, I pretty much was born. I mean, they started the church when I was about two, almost two. So they've been in pastorship for 43 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I've always been active in the church. Of course, first singing, and then, for the most part, singing and teaching the children, and um, just basically whatever my hands found to do.
Mm-hmm.
Children generally follow the lead of their parents. So
Right.
my parents were always busy helping people or doing things within the church. And so I found myself doing the same thing. Um, just picking up, wherever I felt or whatever it felt I could do.
Right.
Um, and I was called into ministry under their ministry in 2011.
Right.
So I've always been active in my local church, even in my national church, state church. I come from the Church of God in Christ, so we had so many different levels. So I
Right.
was always active in all of those facets, mostly in the music department, or praise dancing, or drill team. And it's a little hard for people to imagine me. They're like, "You on a drill team? I can't see you stepping." I'm like, "Look, I've done a lot of stuff."
Right. Because
You know.
you have this so serious all the time. I guess it's hard for people
Oh
to
my
imagine
God.
you kind of like, you know.
I'm the biggest prankster of all, and I'm quite hilarious,
See,
actually.
that's me. That's my hidden
A lot
secret.
of people don't get to see that side of me, but
Right, right, right,
yeah, I think
right. Ask
sometimes
my
it's just
children how petty I can be.
oh, see, listen, we're not gonna start because I mean, for me, my perfect Christmas is like everybody gets a prank gift.
Right.
Then once they get over the shock of this ridiculous gift, then I'm always been a great gift giver, so they'll
Right.
always appreciate. I'm like, oh, they'll always appreciate whatever it is I've gotten them, because I've been listening all year and I've been collecting things, and so I like pulling pranks. I like a good joke.
Yeah.
I'm here for it.
I
Yes,
remember.
I am. My mom was like, not this again.
Right.
Yeah, my sister tried it. It didn't work, as well on me as it did for the rest of them. I'll give them like some random junk from around the house and
Right.
wrap it up real pretty, put in a good old gift bag, put a bow on it. Like, what in the world? People pig feet, seriously? Just because I feel like sometimes we can be so serious. At times you
Yeah.
just gotta loosen up. And holidays, we're not working. Look, we can
Yeah.
just let it
Let
let
it go
loose.
and
So
have fun. Yeah.
yes, and I'm always here for a good time. That's
I remember we were traveling one time, and I had to go preach somewhere. I can't remember. We were out of town somewhere. My alma bear, um, Lord forgive me.
pull it together now. Pull it together.
So she was, so she was unloading. She was unpacking my bags, and I don't know. It just came over me all of a sudden to prank her. So
Oh God.
I went ahead in the closet, and she kept calling, Pastor, Pastor, where are you? Are you here? Pastor.
Mm-mm.
I jumped out the closet, and that girl turned into a ghost.
I bet. Yep.
She screamed and she screamed, she screamed so until tears came out her eyes.
Oh no.
Oh my goodness. That's horrible. I know that's horrible.
Yeah. See, I'm not the jump out the closet person. It's always gonna be something just like so random and so out of place that like.
And I don't even know what made me do that. It just popped in my head, and I never done that to anybody before.
Don't
know why I did it. To this day, I don't know why.
It was in your spirit. It was in your spirit. You just felt something. It just came over you. Couldn't help you. But it does help lighten. It lightens the mood. Like after they get over the initial shock, it's like, okay, I'm all right. I'm okay. But but you have to. I'm like, you gotta have a sense of humor.
You do.
So
You
if
really
you're
do.
around me, you have to have a sense of humor because
you really do.
I'll be serious, and then the next minute I'm like, okay, well, you ain't even gonna believe this. It's just that's how I am. I said that's just one of my quirks. People are like, I don't understand you. Don't even worry about it. You don't have to.
Worry about it.
You don't have to.
Like the little boy say on the video, don't worry about it, sweetheart.
Right. Please don't stress yourself. It's all right.
Right.
I'm good. Worry about yourself. I'm good.
Okay. So is that you are the eldest of three, and
Yes.
I always thought Vaughn was older than you for some reason.
Everybody always thought I was the youngest because I
Right.
was the shortest. But
Mm-hmm.
for whatever reason, you're like, well, I guess my features are, I
Mm-hmm.
don't know, whatever it is. They always thought I was the youngest. You
And you
know,
look younger.
Yeah, yeah.
So you
I
didn't
don't
want to
know
say
why.
it, but I say it for you.
Well, I don't, I
You was
don't know
like,
why.
these are my features. What you was trying to say was because you look younger than them.
Yeah, I said, well, maybe because I haven't smiled a lot, so I don't have, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm pretty much
Whatever.
straight faced, or they got
Don't
another
say
word
black
for it,
don't
but
crack.
yeah, I moisturize. I
Mhm.
moisturize a lot, drink water and things. So, got a whole regimen here.
Right, right,
Trying to hang on in there.
right, girl. What? So let's get into your time of service. So you're a veteran. You served in the United States Air Force.
Mhm.
Now, some of this stuff I don't even know what it means, but I'm gonna try to pronounce it. Okay.
Mhm.
So is it Shriver or Shriver?
Shriver
Shriver,
Air Force
um,
Base.
Air Force Base in
Yep.
Colorado
Mhm.
from 97 to 2000.
Yep.
And first as a space systems operations specialist,
Yep.
then as a personnel specialist.
Mhm.
You currently hold a bachelor's in psychology, a master's in project management, and an MBA in operations management. And then I like how you and I like how you break your bio down. Then you said, but guess what, everybody?
Mm-mm. I don't do none of that.
I ain't doing
Mm-mm.
none of that.
At all. Just
So that's the way I kind of read it in my head. Like, fun fact, hello, I don't do any of
right.
that.
Any of it. Well, I mean, there's facets from each of those things that I use every day. Of course,
Right,
psychology and project management. You can't work without that.
right.
Yeah. So,
So what you actually do, you're a senior IT systems specialist with, is it ComScope?
yep.
Okay, where you are an administrator for the Microsoft 365 platform.
Mhm.
So how did you make the transition from all of those degrees to doing what you're doing now?
Well, first of all, I started my bachelor's degree right out of high school.
Okay,
I went for 2 years, then I joined the military.
okay.
And um, so the years I was in the military, of course, I wasn't in college.
Mm-hmm.
When I got out the military, 2, 3 weeks later, I had my oldest child.
Mm-hmm.
And so my husband at the time wanted to relocate back to Virginia. So once he was walking and talking, I went back to college
Okay.
and finished up the last 2 years of that degree. But I was working, and what motivated me actually was money.
Okay.
Um, I learned very quickly that I did not like my paycheck. It was not going to be what I needed it to be
Right.
because I had skills, but
Mm-hmm.
those skills had to be able to equate to something in the civilian world. I
Okay.
knew how to do different things, but they were not fine tuned.
Okay.
So I took what I did have and, I found a job as a federal contractor and used my GI Bill to pay for my last 2 years of my bachelor's degree. And so after that, of course, I got a promotion in another job doing other things. And so actually, what I do now came from an additional duty.
Okay.
I was a federal government contractor for 13 years.
Okay.
So with that comes additional duties. Those are things you don't get paid for. Those are things that they say our unit needs it, so you need to learn how to do it. We'll send you to training, and you'll figure it out from there.
Okay.
So, you know,
But
I
no
figured
extra
a lot
pay
of stuff
comes with
out.
it.
Hmm.
You said, but no extra pay comes with that.
Not with additional duties, no.
Okay.
So I learned I was hired actually to be a SharePoint administrator, which is like an intranet system within many organizations. They use it, a lot of people use it for document storage and
Mm-hmm.
just different types of things within the organization. So that was one of the things that was an additional duty for me. And that additional duty opened the door for opportunities leading to the one I'm in now.
Okay.
Whereas I was hired for one thing, I've learned a lot more. I've learned a whole lot more things. So, I deal with Outlook. If you
Mm-hmm.
have Microsoft, I deal with Microsoft, the Exchange,
Yes.
the servers, there's a lot,
Yeah.
I could say a lot of words, but if you don't actually use that stuff, it
You
doesn't
want to
mean a
know
whole
it.
lot.
Right.
So, I those things that at the time seemed tedious and I couldn't understand where it was leading.
Okay.
God had a plan, and it
Uh-huh.
led me out of being an administrative assistant because I knew that wasn't the job for me when I
Okay.
had to keep answering the phone.
Okay.
um I don't like answering the phone, and I
Right.
hate hearing the phone ring. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, so I was like, okay, God, you're gonna show me a different way because I can't take it. I
Right.
can't. I can't take scheduling people's calendars,
Mm-hmm.
and I was, it was just for me, my impetus was money. I was motivated by money. And then
Right.
I went back, I got my master's degree. I started that in 2008, finished 2009, and then I started the second one 2010, finished 2011. So
Okay.
I did like two master's degrees almost back to back
Mm-hmm.
in less than 3 years.
Okay.
So, but those things, and the last master's was, of course, during my divorce, and so I had to have something to keep my mind occupied.
Yes.
So I went back to school and I, learned project management. It's like, I don't know if I really want to do this or not, but it pays well.
Right.
So, of course, I had been employed the whole time, but the skills that I did learn, I was able to apply to different jobs.
Okay.
Different jobs that I've had, learning how to organize and manage projects that I take on personally. So yeah, it definitely has paid off. I love
Mm-hmm.
my job. I love my company. I love my coworkers, my manager. I have the best manager ever, like hands down.
Yeah.
I mean, ever.
Good.
He
Good.
is like
Good.
truly, truly amazing.
Good. Now, I didn't know you could bake. That's something I didn't know.
Oh,
I
I
didn't
cook
know
and I
about the
bake.
baking part.
Oh yes. Oh yes. I cook and I bake. I am. And my uncle called my mom and was like, if Danita cooked a shoe, I would eat it. I said, first of all,
First of
if I
all,
cooked a shoe, go ahead and call the people because things are
that's
going
all we got.
wrong. Everything is going wrong if I'm up here cooking shoes. That's not I don't cook shoes, but I'm like the family cook. The
Uh-huh.
family meals are at my house, and
Mm-hmm.
everybody's waiting for me to cook and bake. So
Yeah.
yeah, I bake cakes, a lot of cakes.
I know one year you were cooking a really big meal, and this is going to segue us into our next part. You were cooking this really big meal, and then you got really fatigued and you couldn't finish. Um, and you had to get help.
Mhm.
Um, and a lot of times I was sharing one time before the difference between being tired and being fatigued.
Yeah,
How, although people try to lump them together sometimes,
right.
they're oceans apart,
Absolutely.
absolute oceans apart. And I wanted to ask you, when you think about fatigue and when you deal with it, how do you feel when people say, "Oh, you tired?" and you're like, "No, it's not just I'm tired. I'm fatigued."
Right.
You know, because tired sometimes is like, "Ooh, child, let me sit down."
Yeah.
Fatigue is like your body throws you down.
Right.
You like, "No,
Mhm.
I want to get up," and your body says, "No, we're not doing that today."
Mm-mm.
Period.
No, ma'am.
you know,
Yep.
so it's a difference.
Mhm.
So how do you feel when you have to explain that difference to people?
Well, I think for the most part, for the people that are around me, they understand that it's not just, oh, she's tired, because
Mm-hmm.
they know if I'm tired, I can, if you're tired, you can still kind of push
Mm-hmm.
through. You can do whatever
Hello.
you need to do.
Yep.
Like you were saying, okay, if I can just get a little nap, then I'll be good.
Yep.
Or if I can just go on ahead and finish this up.
Yep.
Fatigue, I can't finish
Yep.
it. So it's like either you're going to sit down or your body's just going to give out.
Yeah.
There is no, okay, well, I'm fatigued, so let me do this or let me do that.
Yeah.
It's it's, I think it's more than just it's not just a physical tire. It's like a complete exhaustion. Your
Yeah.
mind, your body,
Your
everything is
body,
like, okay, yeah,
psychologically,
shut down.
everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Everything is like, okay, I can't. This is it.
Yeah.
This is all I can do. So the people that are around me understand that, because they know I'm perpetually busy.
Right.
And one of the reasons is because if I'm busy, I can't think about pain.
Right.
If I
Right.
keep my mind occupied,
Mm-hmm.
then it's like, okay, I'm not thinking about anything else. So I'm just like, I'm always like literally. So I generally don't sit down
Right.
when I get off work. I'm up and
Mm-hmm.
I'm moving until time for bed.
Right.
Literally.
Mm-hmm.
Just
Well,
um
you can. While
yeah,
that
it's like,
energy is there, you got to use it while it's there.
it's not even energy. I can't even call it energy, because my husband will be like, "What is wrong with you? Just go to
Yeah.
just go sit down." I'm like, "I can't sit down, because if I sit down, then it's like, okay, now I have to think about, okay, this hurts or that hurts, or.
Ah.
So for me, staying busy is kind of cathartic. Like
Uh-huh.
baking. I started
Mm-hmm.
baking because when I baked, I didn't feel pain.
Mm-hmm.
So it took me into like a different, I was able to disassociate. It's
Right. Right.
the psychological word. I was able to
Right.
disassociate
Disassociate.
the pain from, I was like, okay, now I'm in my cooking zone. I'm
Yeah.
baking. I don't even eat it.
Right.
I just bake it. I bake a whole bunch of stuff and just put it on the table and let everybody else eat it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it takes my mind away
Yeah.
from anything else that may be going on. So
Yeah.
I, instead of saying fatigued, I tell them I'm exhausted. I'm not
Yeah.
just, my body is not just tired. My
Yes.
spirit is tired. My brain is tired. My body is, my whole being
Yeah.
at this point is, reached a
Yeah.
point of where I can no longer do anything.
Just can't. I had
Yeah.
someone call me yesterday. Was it yesterday? Yeah, yesterday. Last night about 9:30 ish, and he was like, "Hey, what you doing?" I said, "I'm in the bed." Every time I call you, you're in the bed. I say, "Well, you either call me early in the morning,
Mhm.
or after 8 or 9 at night."
Mhm.
And by then, I've busied my entire day,
Yeah.
because once I, pretty much like you, my kitchen is part of my therapy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Being in my kitchen is very therapeutic for me. That's how I got into making juices and salad dressings and all kinds of different foods and stuff that I
Right.
make. Um, because it gives me time, uh, outside of everything else that's
Yeah.
going on,
Mhm.
and the days that I know I'm not at
Mhm.
100%, shoot,
Right.
days I'm not even at 57%, I
Right.
don't cook, because
Right.
I'm not coherent enough to
Exactly.
monitor the time, the oven, the
Right.
this, at the top, whatever going on, or I'll put something in the crock pot. That
Right.
way I don't have to stand over a stove or
Yep.
be subjected to a timer on the oven.
Right.
And
Because
so,
yeah.
so he says, "Well, you're always in the bed." And I said, you forgot. You forgot. Number one, and I hate having to do this. I'm like, number one, I just had my second brain surgery in October.
Right.
Number two, I was dying in November from hemorrhaging to death. Number three, I had to have 3 blood transfusions. Number four, I'm still on an iron regimen to boost my hemoglobin level. Number five, they're not yet back up to the
Right.
level,
Right.
and I have to, and I'm just like, but you know this.
Hmm.
So for me to have to run that down to a person that knows that, it's almost like, just let me talk to you later. I don't even
Right.
want to talk to you right now.
Yeah.
And not to be unkind, but at this point, I don't even want to hear anything else you got to say.
Right. Oh, I get it. I get
You
it.
know?
Yeah. Because it's almost like you have not listened or paid attention to anything that I have experienced in the last however
Yeah.
long. You've not even tried.
Yep.
So I mean, that's how I feel. I feel
Hmm.
like if I have to explain something to you, first of all, I shouldn't have to explain it if you know what I
Yep.
and I'm just not one that's going to explain it. I'm like, okay, you know what? Or I'm just not going to answer.
Yeah.
That's I've just reached that point. Like people,
Yeah.
they're like, "Oh, I've been trying to call you." Look,
Yeah.
obviously,
You didn't
I
see
wasn't
me
here for
calling
it.
you? Yeah. So
Nope,
did you
I
get my
did.
text?
And for me, I didn't. My phone stays on silent because the ringer triggers migraines.
Yeah.
I
So
can't.
at night, probably every night before I go to sleep, I turn my ringer completely off.
Oh, mine stays completely off, 24
Completely
hours a day.
off because it's just, by the time you got your door, your ring, and all that stuff is on your phone, and every little notification,
Hmm.
it's a trigger,
It is.
and
Yep.
you can't explain it to some people,
Hmm.
and it's almost like you and I was talking about the unseen disabilities.
Hmm.
We were talking about that. I know I was first diagnosed with brain tumors in 2012. And because I was having strokes back to back, that's how they found it. And at that time, um, I lost all my peripheral. I was supposed to
Mm.
turn in my driver's license, you know, but I didn't.
Right.
I just stopped driving, you know.
Yeah, that's the best thing to do at
Yeah,
that
I
point.
just stopped driving because I couldn't see well enough to drive anyhow. So I stopped driving. And the thing was that, so they gave me, I remember my daughter and I were in Home Depot and just standing there waiting for the lady to assist us. I think we were in the paint section somewhere. And I'm standing there, and all of a sudden, my entire left side just gives out.
Oh Lord.
And so one of the guys that worked, he ran and got the stool, and he literally caught me, put the stool up under me
Mm.
just before I hit the floor. So that caused, so my doctor said, well, my doctor wrote me this paper. He said, take this paper to the DMV. And I'm like,
No.
I said, oh, because at the time I wasn't even 50, right?
Right.
I'm like, a disability. Oh, I said, oh no, I'm not disabled. He said, ma'am, you can't see. You can barely walk into the store without giving out. He said, what else? I mean, he said,
Mm.
take this to the DMV. I said, but I don't drive. He said, so whoever drives you, put this in their car
Mm-hmm.
so you can park close enough. So if you do have to get out, you're
Yeah.
close enough
Mm-hmm.
so you don't have these incidents. We cannot
Right.
have you falling.
Right.
So I go there, get my placard and all of that stuff. And the first time I used it, the looks I was getting, like, don't look like anything wrong with you. Why you got one of those?
Right.
And for a long time, you and I were talking earlier, for a long time, I was kind of ashamed because, like I said, I wasn't even 50 at the time,
Hmm.
and so I'm just like, oh, I don't want to have to do this. But it was something completely outside of my control. I
Yeah.
had no control over brain tumors and all that kind of stuff. And you and I were talking, and you go through some of the same things.
Hmm.
So tell us about we know about the migraine, so you touched on that a little bit, but tell us about having that unseen disability.
Okay, so yeah, we talked touched I have what's called fibromyalgia, and
Mm-hmm.
for a long time, people were like, "Oh, it's not real, it's not real,"
Mm-hmm.
and so um, it's generally difficult to diagnose. At least when I was diagnosed in the early 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
Now you'll hear more about it. You'll actually see commercials for
Mm-hmm.
prescriptions. They have certain medications and things, but there is no cure. There
Sure,
is
right.
nothing that makes it go away.
Mm-hmm.
And it's comprised of many different issues. For me, it started with numbness in my hand, not my whole hand, but half my hand. So
Okay.
most of the time I can't feel my hands. So I get
Okay.
burnt a lot. I get cut a lot. So both of my hands, um, we now know I have neuropathy, not regular neuropathy, of course. I have small fiber neuropathy, which affects any part of my body. My face goes numb, my hands go numb. I learned to drive with my knees because my hands would go numb while driving. So I
Okay.
learned how to drive my car
Wow.
using the top of my thigh and my knees, because
Mhm.
if I'm driving and my hands go numb, I can't just not steer.
Right, right, right.
So, it also includes migraines, IBS, chronic fatigue syndrome,
Yep.
um, just depression,
Mhm.
anxiety, the
Mhm.
brain fog, because people talk about, they talk about, oh, pregnancy brain. I'm like, well, I'll tell you one thing. This fibro fog is worse than that. I
Yep.
mean, at times you'll think that you actually have, dementia or something,
Yep. Yep.
because and I tell people I spend most of my day trying to remember what I started doing. They're like,
Yep.
well, write a note. Well, you know what? I wrote a note. I don't know where it is.
Right.
So I
That part.
started writing a note and then taking a picture with my phone, but then I couldn't find my phone. I said, well, look,
Right.
I quit. So I'll just start doing something else. And I'm like, well, if it was important enough, then I'll
It'll
I'll
come
figure
back
it
to me,
out.
hopefully.
Yeah, and I was young. It was like about 2001 or 2002.
Yeah.
So which meant my youngest child he wasn't even 2 years old when I was
Yeah.
diagnosed with fibromyalgia, because I was diagnosed during a flare. And what
Okay.
a flare consists of, your nerve endings literally feels like if you've ever had the flu, everything on your body hurts. Your skin hurts. It hurts for water to touch it. It hurts for clothes. It hurts to sleep. It hurts to sit up, lay down. It doesn't matter. It's like your every nerve ending in your body
Mm-hmm.
is basically awake and just aching. And there is
Mm-hmm.
no pain medicine that gets rid of that.
Right.
They say there are different spots, like there are different points in your back and in your neck. They're trigger points that,
Right.
if manipulated too much, can even
Mm-hmm.
actually cause a flare. I've
Right.
had massages that caused a flare.
Oh.
My longest flare was about 2 weeks.
Right.
I could not work.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I basically, all I could do was just lay there, and you can't cry too much because then the migraine gets worse.
Yes.
And just when and I'm like, I have to bathe.
Mm-hmm.
So
But the water
like,
hurts.
yes, the water from the shower, the washcloth, everything that touches your body hurts. Your hair, combing your hair
Mm-hmm.
moving. So that was probably the worst flare I had. And that was like during the time they were able to diagnose me as actually
Mm-hmm.
having fibromyalgia, because I'd had all the symptoms. Even
Mm-hmm.
when I was in the military, I started having symptoms, and they were like, oh, you have carpal tunnel. So they gave me these braces, and I'm walking around
Yeah.
like this, and I'm trying to sleep. I'm busting my lip at night because these things like are metal,
Yeah.
like just to keep my hands still. But it
Yeah.
would not stop the numbness. It didn't stop the pain.
Mm-hmm.
So, throughout the course of even one of the reasons I actually got out of the military, my first job I came in with, I could no longer work it because it
Mm-hmm.
required flight status. Having
Mm.
flight status means you cannot take any medicine that will put you to sleep.
Right.
And most people with migraines know the first thing they try to give you is antidepressants. They
Yep.
give you Prozac, they give you which I think is what, amitriptyline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I
Yeah.
take.
So they give you amitriptyline to try
Uh-huh.
to see if that will help. And they take you through all these medicines. Every migraine drug acts like a narcotic. It
Yep.
puts you to sleep.
Yep.
So I lost that job because I could not maintain flight status and treat the migraines. Like I would literally have to come into work and I could not see. I
Yeah.
would be trying to drive, literally driving blind.
Yep.
You're like, because it's the military, you have to show up. And I would
Yep.
just pray my way to work because it would be
Mhm.
that bad.
Mhm.
Pull over, get sick, whatever it is you got to do, but you got to get into work.
Yes.
So, during the course of even like my military career, both pregnancies, I've
Mhm.
struggled with the migraine part even till now. Like I have a little one
Mhm.
right now. I generally, a minimum of 4 days a week, I have a migraine.
Yep.
But, you know, I just, I muscle through it some days, other days, I tell my boss, look, I can't, I can't,
Can't.
I can't see. So I can't see, I can't work.
Yep.
And he's always been very kind because he knows like when I'm up, I'm up.
Mhm. Mhm.
When I'm on it, I'm on it. But
Mhm.
especially more recently, anything can trigger migraines. My husband's
Anything.
alarm clock triggers my migraines.
Right.
So I have to leave out of the room when he works a different shift. I have to leave
Mhm.
out of our bedroom because I can't take the alarm clock.
Right.
And like I can't take phones ringing, timers going off, anything with like a pitchy perpetual noise that just
Yeah.
goes over and over. It
Uh-huh.
triggers
It
migraines.
triggers. Yeah.
Fluorescent lights, the sun,
Yeah.
allergies. I mean, smells, it can be anything. I wake up and it's
Yeah.
like, hey, good morning.
Mhm.
So, um,
But not gorgeous.
well, that's now my ringtone to get up because I said,
Right.
oh, this is way better than my alarm, and it doesn't
Right.
trigger a migraine. So, good morning, gorgeous. So, and when I heard the reason, that she started saying, I was like, okay, this is
Right.
fitting. But
Right.
I one of the other things with fibromyalgia, like I said, I suffer from neuropathy.
Mhm.
And it also, you can, you're not having a stroke, but my body gives out.
Yeah.
There are times I can't get out of bed. There are
Mhm.
days that I can't move.
Mhm.
And I'll text my husband. I'm like, I can't get out of bed. And I got to go to the bathroom really bad. And I'm just like,
Mhm.
I don't know what to do. I don't know what
Mhm.
he's like. Well, you can't use the bathroom in the bed. I was like, I know. I don't know what to
Right.
do. And I'm like, Lord, just hold my bladder, you
Yeah.
know. So, and then, of course, with fibromyalgia, again, you have problems with your bladder. You
Yep.
have problems with your like irritable bowel syndrome.
Yep.
You have there's so many things that are comprised in this bubble, as
Mhm.
they put it,
Mhm.
that there's no cure for.
Right.
And it's like people look at you like, oh, you look great. You're
Yeah.
smiling.
Right.
And I'm like, well, what am I supposed to do? Am I just supposed to be up here looking crazy? And
Right.
because it's like if you look how you actually felt, and there are days that you've seen me post there's a graphic
Mhm.
of a man. This picture just happens to be a man. And fibromyalgia generally affects women, but there is
Mhm.
a small percentage of men that actually deal with the same thing.
Mhm.
Theirs is not necessarily even which shows it's not hormonal.
Right.
It's not, oh, I just don't feel well, or I'm having
Mhm.
these symptoms for today. These are symptoms and things that I have dealt with for over 20 years.
Right.
So you muscle through as well as you can, but there are times when no, I can't get up. There are times I've fallen down the stairs. If I'm,
Mhm.
like, oh, I'll say I'm tired, but my body is fatigued and I've fallen
Right.
down the stairs. I've gotten a concussion falling down the stairs because I was too tired to actually walk down. And my body was like, no, it
Is
just
that
quit.
how you injured your foot that time?
No, mm-mm.
Okay.
That's not how I broke my foot, my ankle. That's a whole different story.
I was like,
No, 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 no. I
what did
actually,
you do?
I generally so at home. And now I'm in my 40s and I realize my body does not heal as quickly
Right.
as it once did.
Mhm.
I wear Crocs because
Mhm.
I don't have good balance because
Mhm.
of inner ear issues. So
Right.
I bump into things a lot.
Mhm.
And they have a good enough thing that it doesn't, I'm not going to break my toes. They don't make
Right.
Crocs for knees or shins though.
Right.
So I probably should have some shin guards on, but I'm always bumping into stuff. I don't really have peripheral vision, so I can't really see
Mhm.
on the sides.
Right.
So when I'm walking, I'm always running into something. I always have a bruise,
Mhm.
always. And I'm like, well, what in the world happened here?
Right.
And because of the neuropathy, a lot of times, especially if it involves my hands or my feet, I don't know. But
You don't
until
know.
like I'll go to wash my hands or I'll look down, I'm like, man, I'm bleeding. What did I do? Where
Right.
did I come on? Because I don't even remember. I don't remember
Mm-hmm.
cutting it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, my kids have seen me like I'm having something in the oven. And like, Mom, your hands on the oven. Your hands on the oven. I'm like, what? And I look down and I'm
Oh
burnt,
wow.
as they say, to the white meat.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that's
That's
gonna
kind
hurt.
of
And I'm
like
like, well, I
people
never
with
felt it.
it's kind of like people with diabetes, right?
Yes, neuropathy. Yep,
Yeah.
they have what's called peripheral neuropathy. They used to call it like diabetic neuropathy. Very,
Okay.
very similar, but theirs mainly pertains to their hands and their feet, and
Mm-hmm.
most of them is like they're in extreme pain. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't have the pain with mine. Mine is just numb. Like right now, my hands are tingling.
Uh-huh.
They're tingling right now. I can use them. I see that they're there,
Right.
but like, and they'll be very, very hot or
Right.
ice cold.
Okay.
So I can have one hot hand and like one freezing cold hand. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm gonna need y'all to make up your mind.
Right. What we doing
But
today?
I'm like, I can deal with that as long as it's not hurting. If
Right.
it's not
Right.
hurting, I just kind of ignore it.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's good or bad, but yeah.
I don't know.
So,
I don't think
and
people understand
for the
how
number of things I have,
migraine you can get.
yeah, there's no like one pill that you can take for everything. So I'm on about 17 medications,
Yeah.
not including vitamins. And I mean, I can't even take every pill that they've given me because my stomach can't hold it.
Right.
You know, I mean, the simplest thing, like if I gain 10 pounds, my body's going to react to that.
Yep.
It can throw me into a flare
Yep.
because it's too much pressure on something.
Yep.
So it's
Yep.
like, I think for me is like, okay, kind of like the military training they drilled in my head. Pain is an inanimate object. I know that it's not, but it gives me, it's in the back of my head so I can just push,
Right.
you know.
But I don't think people understand how serious migraines can get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they can come on just like that. And
Yeah.
the last one I
Yeah.
got, I literally could not see trying to
Yeah.
get home. All I could
Yeah.
see was just sunshine. And I
Yeah.
literally prayed. This was like last week. I prayed my way home. I could barely see how to get my car in the driveway. I was like, I can't see. And, I almost started crying, but my head was hurting.
Right.
So I was like,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
And crying, it makes it worse because you know how when you cry,
mhm,
you get that your
it's that
nose gets kind
pressure.
of stuffy here,
Yep.
and then that sinus pressure builds up
Hmm.
and it makes it worse. So
Yep.
it's like, you just have to find something to do. I remember my son was in fourth grade, and I worked for this company, and our annual was like 24 million a year, and I was the only black woman, black person in the entire office, only black. So what I'm told that was happening, I woke up with a migraine, and I had just got a promotion on my job
Mm.
after being there for 8 months.
Wow.
They had just given me a promotion with a raise.
Mm.
And I knew the next step was to give me my own project. And with my own project, I knew that I was going to be on site. That means I get my own trailer at Universal Studios, all of that. So I said, I'm just going to push through this migraine today because I see big, what's coming. And so apparently, what my boss told me, she said, I called her and told her, I'm dropping my son off at school, but I can't see.
Mm.
And she said she kept trying to reach me, and she found me at home unconscious.
Oh.
And so I asked her, and I said, I remember pulling over to use the payphone, but I couldn't remember who I called. So my boss said I called her to tell her that I couldn't see, so I was gonna go home and lie down for an hour, and I'll be into work. And she said, okay. She said, but when I didn't show up for work, she kept calling my house and couldn't get an answer. So she went in my file and got my address. She came to my house
Mm.
and she said, when I didn't answer your door, she saw my car, my Jeep there. And when I didn't answer the door, she called 911. They came in and she said she found me on the floor, unconscious,
Yep.
from a migraine.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's happened to me. Yeah.
From a migraine.
Mhm.
And so I asked her, I said, well, when did I call you? She said, you were sound like you were on the side of the road and you kept saying, I need help. I can't see. I can't see.
Mm.
I said, so how did I get home? How did I get back to my house?
The Lord.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
She said, I'm imagining you must have driven yourself home. And then when you walked in the house, you passed out.
Mm-hmm.
She said, because your stuff had splattered out of your purse, your keys was over here, and you was just face down in your living room.
Mm-hmm.
To this day, it only had to be the Lord. I can't tell you how I got home.
Yeah.
And so people don't understand when you have those migraines and those cluster headaches.
Oh God. Yeah.
You can't do anything.
Mm-mm.
Even if you try.
Mm-mm.
I found out through that not to try to get up and still drive and do other stuff when I have a migraine. So now I'm learning. I had to learn how to live with that instead of trying to, you know what I'm saying, trying to like push through it and be like, well, I need to work anyway. Knowing my brain literally felt like it was about to pop out of my head.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's how it felt. Like
all
it would have taken was somebody to go like this,
and it would just that would be it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's scary, you know. And that's what that's one of the reasons why I'm up here, because with my conditions, I cannot live alone.
Yeah.
You know, trying to take care of a child and take care of myself, not knowing when it's gonna click in, like, oh, you have a migraine. Not having family like close by to be able to step in and get, if something happens, so that's one of the reasons I'm back in Virginia, is I actually can't live alone, because there's we never know when we'll have to call the ambulance. Because my migraines, taking the medication, like I've taken so much migraine medication that I now have ulcers. From the migraine meds. So, it's just they're scary, but when they come, I'm just like, I just try to pray that that my anxiety doesn't take over, because that makes it worse. And then I'm hyperventilating. I'm scared. I'm like, oh God, so it's like, okay,
into a panic attack.
Exactly. And that happens.
Especially if you're alone.
Yes. Or if I know there's nobody there that can drive. I've called the ambulance for myself, and I have a 2-story home. So I know if it's really, really bad and I'm home by myself, I stay downstairs. Because if they have to just, I keep the light dim on my phone anyway, but I got a button that I can get them in,
Right.
I can get you in the house, without you tearing down my doors and tearing them out. But, I've had to call the ambulance for myself, because I can feel it, like, I don't know about for you, but sometimes it literally feels like my brain is about to burst out, like, or something's like stabbing me in my head. And I'm like, okay, is this a stroke? Is this a migraine? I need to understand what's going on. I'm nauseous. I am. Now my anxiety's kicking in, and I'm calling them. I need y'all to hurry up. Y'all are taking forever. Like the last time, I'm like, okay, you got to hurry up and get here. I can't breathe. My head is hurting so bad. I've taken 3 Imitrex, which is a no-no. I mean, because for me, that's 200 milligrams.
Oh my God.
It would not stop. The headache would not stop. I could not see everything. When I say everything bothered me. And they decided to take me downstairs on one of those chairs and bump me all the way down. I said, I'm going to I'm going to get sick.
Oh,
As soon as they got me outside, I got sick on myself. Now
oh,
you would think they would give me a change of clothes. No, I had to sit in that for hours at the hospital, and it's like, it's certain parts of the aspects like that where you really just, there, you have no control.
yeah,
Those, like, for me, that's just, number one, I don't like getting sick. Number two, having to be sick on myself because
right,
I cannot even make my body move to swing my head another way
right,
because the pressure and the pain is so great.
yeah,
So, for me,
mm-hmm,
that's one of my VA disabilities.
yeah,
I'm a 80% disabled veteran.
mm-hmm,
So, and I'm like, and neither of the things I have disability for, you can't see them. I walk with
right,
a limp, but that's not what I'm disabled for. That's not what I get
right,
disability for. I walk with a limp because I broke my ankle,
right,
and there's, and it's been mended as well as it can be mended.
right,
So, but it's, you know,
mm-hmm,
for me, I just try to, I just must, I can muscle through to a degree. But like you said, when that head gets to a point
yeah,
that you can't see,
yep,
and like I said, I already don't have peripheral vision, and I
right,
bump into stuff anyway because I have inner ear issues.
mm-hmm,
I could kill myself literally
yeah,
if you
yeah,
think about it.
you
I
could, you
have my
really
stick like go round like this.
could, mm-hmm,
Anything could happen.
yeah,
So, it's the smartest thing is just to sit down,
yeah,
try to lay down, try to find
yeah,
some type of way to put yourself together. Ice
yeah,
packs don't work for me. Heating pads
yeah,
don't work. Cold, dark rooms don't work.
mm-hmm,
The medication doesn't work. I take 4 migraine meds a day, different medications to try to
now,
control it.
taking 3 Imitrex, let me tell you something. You was trying to go to glory.
Oh, well, I was trying to get my head to stop hurting because I felt
Well,
like I was on my way. I felt
you
like
wanted to
surely the
see
Lord was soon to come.
Jesus, or because that's some strong medication. I used to give myself. They used to give me the shots, and I used
No,
to have to give myself the shots in my thigh,
right.
and because I was going to the hospital so much, so
Mm-hmm.
frequent for them, so they started giving me the Imitrex that you inject,
Mm-hmm.
and um, and then after a while, they came back and said, your migraines are too frequent. You're
Mm-hmm.
having to inject it too much.
Yeah.
And I had to wind up seeing a cardiologist
Mm.
because that migraine medicine, it speeds up your
Yep.
heart and all
Yeah.
of that. And so
Mm-hmm.
he said, if you had taken one more shot, you would have exploded your heart.
Oh, wow.
So I'm like, okay, so what am I supposed to do now? So I
Yeah.
can't take the injections. So then you got to go, but like you said, you got to switch to the pills now. And
Yep.
you don't want all those pills on your stomach because it's like just looking at them. Sometimes you like, just to look at them
Yeah.
makes
Yeah.
you gag.
I have
You know,
like a box, like with the
right?
little locking latches. That's my box. And some days I just like, I don't even feel like sorting all these pills and putting it into this tray. Because I mean, there are days that it's just depressing. I'm like, I'm 44. This is
Yeah,
ridiculous. And I mean, this isn't for high blood pressure. This isn't for
right.
diabetes. This isn't for high cholesterol. This is for migraines, fibromyalgia, and my stomach
Yeah,
because I've taken, I've
yep,
had the bariatric surgery. So
yep,
Imitrex, I did not know was an NSAID.
right.
And so I've developed ulcers
Mm-hmm.
and had been vomiting blood for 2 years and thought it
Didn't know
didn't
it.
know that.
Yeah,
So you just, and it's like there's so many things, but I look at it and I'm like, God, you still allow me to live.
right, right,
I have a job.
right.
I can do the things I like to do. I can spend time with my family, even though, there are days I just, I'm here in my lady layer,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm in here. I don't have the TV on. I don't have anything on, and I'm just in here, and it's because that's all I can take at that point,
Yeah.
but I believe that I used to ask God, why
Mm-hmm.
do I have to have all of this stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and it was just it's clear, and it's like I thought about the cross,
Mm-hmm.
and how no matter the pain that I experience and what I've gone through,
Mm-hmm.
is still minuscule in comparison to what
To
Jesus
the
went through for
cross.
me.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of my coping mechanisms.
Yes.
It's like, yes, you are in pain, but it could be so much worse,
Yes.
you
Yeah.
know. So that's just kind of how I navigate it, how I um get the willpower to just be like, okay, I got to do something. I can't just sit here and wallow and look crazy and
You
cry
can't.
all day. And
You can't. You absolutely
no
can't.
life. I mean,
Because
I got a lot of life left, and I'm just really
yeah,
trying to live my best life,
right.
have a good time while I'm
Yeah,
here.
right. You here.
I
Yeah.
can't just sit up here and be like, oh, I don't feel good today. Because
Mhm.
I'm like, if you wait for, it's almost like waiting for, oh, I got to wait for my money to get straight before I do this
Right.
and do that. Now, I ain't going to say spend your bill money to do stuff. But what
Right.
I will say is some things you have got to live.
Live.
Save for a rainy day, but that self-care,
Yeah.
taking care of yourself and your mental health. And even if it's something as simple as a massage or a
Yeah.
pedicure, or just go get yourself a cup of coffee. If
Yeah.
that's where you are,
Yeah.
you have to be able to do those things.
Yeah.
Just because, and I think I was saying earlier, it's the unseen things.
Yes.
Those are the things that get you, the things that people don't see,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, and it's easy for people to say, well, you look good. You know, I remember when I had my first stroke, and probably like a week, that following week, we had gone to church, and after church, we had stopped by this soul food place to get something to eat. Well, I didn't feel like staying, so I wanted mine to go. And there were two female preachers sitting there, and one was elderly, you know. And so the one that was younger told the elderly woman when I walked in, and she said, "That's the pastor I was telling you about right there that had the stroke." And so I heard them talking. So I go over to speak, and so the elderly woman looks up at me, and she said, "When you had a stroke?" I said, "Last week." She said, "When you got out the hospital?" I said, "Friday." She said, "Honey, ain't nobody been in no hospital with no stroke and come out with skin looking like yours." And I said,
I,
"Yes, ma'am." I said, yes, she's an elderly woman. Like, what am I supposed to say? I'm like, I
yeah.
said, "Yes, ma'am, I was in the hospital." And so the other lady, she was like, "Mother, that's the one I've been telling you about, that God worked a miracle." And that woman said, "Hmm." And so I'm like, I said, "Well, I'm going to go ahead and get my food so I can
Right.
go,
That part.
because
Mhm.
if I don't know what we expect. I don't know."
I don't know. I think for a lot of people, because it's a lack of understanding.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Um, some of it is a level of ignorance to how different people are. I mean, our bodies respond differently.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it just, like you said, with the three tracks. I was still awake. I was hurting. So, that's just, and I mean, and part of the reason is I have an extremely high pain tolerance. So
Mm-hmm.
once that thing gets hurt, I'm just like, look, I'm just taking pills and taking pills and taking pills so I can just listen. All I want to do is go to sleep. Not just
Mm-hmm.
dirt nap sleep, but I just
Mm-hmm.
want to get to another take it. Like I just gotta take the edge off. So I'm just
Right.
laying out. But a lot of people, it's an ignorance and it's a lack of understanding because they don't associate people being unwell with them not looking unwell. Because
Gotcha.
I guess
Yeah.
some people think that you should wear your sickness or your illness.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, like a jacket or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like, what it, I'm for one, I'm not walking around here looking like that. No,
No. Mm-mm.
I will stay home. I don't even want to be like that
Right.
in the house. Like I
Right.
will go and put on a whole pair of jeans and put on the fanciest blouse. I'm like, where you going? Oh, I just got to go to the post office. You got on a fur coat. I'm like, well, it's cold outside. My
It's
shirt's so
cold, right?
thin. You got on earrings? Yep.
Yep.
Because one thing my dad told me, he's like, if you don't feel well, make yourself look like something.
Look well, yeah.
And it will boost your spirits
Yeah.
if it don't make the pain go. Because, there is something I believe that is, that kind of goes hand in hand,
Mm-hmm.
how you carry yourself and
Mm-hmm.
how you manage yourself.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't know about wearing your illnesses. I don't consider them a badge of honor because I don't feel any honor in them.
It's not. It's not.
But
Oh.
I do
Particularly
know,
the unseen ones, like we talk about. Yeah.
I think people think that you're supposed to look or be mean all the time. Like, I can be mean, but that's not what you want.
Trust me.
That's the side of me that I just like I told my husband, I said, listen, it's not the side of me you want. Trust me.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
You don't. That's
Mm-mm.
just, that's a part of me that I had to pray away because my mom said, "You're so mean that you go crazy." And I'm like, that's the last thing I need.
Yeah.
Mean, crazy, and hurting. This sounds like it's just not going to work out well. But, I think that the stigma behind those things is beginning to change because they are now discussing them and talking about those things. Because before there were no names for them.
Right.
People have always had these things.
Right.
It was just no names, or they would just make up something, or they'll say, "Go get some sassafras," or go get this weed from out the garden, or go get this, whatever, and you take it for a temporary relief, but you don't know what's going on.
Right.
So, we would take, lots of herbal remedies, and we would do what we had to do because that was what was available. But I think now, with the internet, you can look up anything now. Don't diagnose yourself from it.
Right. My doctor said, "Would you please stay off Google?"
Yes. Because you'll drive yourself.
Google said, she was like, "Would you please stay off Google? Please."
That part. Yeah, because that right there, that will throw you into something. Because everything just, but I try to encourage people, because, I don't really talk about any of the stuff like, some people are like, "Oh, my mom," I call my mom. She's like, "You don't sound so great today." I said, "Well, allergies are coming and this is a very, for me, a scary time of year. As well, along with the migraines and, I have allergy induced asthma. Allergies trigger migraines. They trigger my asthma. So it's like, staying in the house, my voice isn't smooth and silky like, somebody might want it to be.
Right.
But I said, I have felt worse in my life. So I'm not today, physically balled up in pain. So I'm like, I can't really complain too much. I just don't sound great.
Right.
So let me get some water.
Look, here's something funny. So like before the show, I was lying down because like you said, when the weather changes, it throws you into a migraine no matter what. I mean, you can't prepare for it.
Yep.
So I was in the bed and I got up earlier, took my shower, all of that, decided what I was going to put on for the show, all of that. And then all of a sudden, just this stabbing pain. I was like, oh. So I get in the bed, turn off all the lights, turn off the television. Everybody's gone. And then when I get dressed for the show, so you can't see it and no one can, thanks to modern technology and makeup.
Right.
I literally
definitely have that on because
I have
tell a whole story.
I had to put Vicks not just around my nose, but like just in right there, just so I can comfortably breathe, so that the pressure from the sinus tract would just
Yep.
ease up here some,
Mm-hmm.
because that's how I had my brain surgery, through my nose.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so when they go in through your nose, they kind of poke upward. So,
Yes.
and
Yep.
then three
Yep.
weeks later, they had to go right back up in there while it's still open
Mm.
and do an emergency surgery while I
Yeah.
was hemorrhaging. So any shift in the weather right now,
Yeah.
I'm real sensitive to it, very sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
So I get my tissue. I said, well, when I'm doing my makeup, put my Vicks in my nose and get ready for the show, so I can, at least have
Mm-hmm.
a voice that sounds a little decent,
Yeah. Oh, I
And so,
get it.
yeah,
Yeah. I was like, do I need a filter today? I was looking like, maybe I
right,
need to do a filter. I
right.
was like,
And
okay,
then
I'm
I
gonna get
said,
this.
well, let me put my
Yeah.
these blue filter glasses
Mm-hmm.
for these, because I got lights everywhere.
Yeah.
Blue
Mm-hmm.
filters for
Yeah.
these lights. hmm And so,
Yeah.
do you think it's important? We were talking about um, looking good and all of that. Danita, I don't care what procedure I have. Um, the one thing I will not do is go into a procedure without lipstick on. I don't care what you're doing, and without my hair fixed. I don't care what we're doing. The nurse was actually fussing at me.
Mm-hmm.
She said the first thing I asked her when I was waking up from anesthesia was my lipstick still okay?
Oh no.
She said, Miss Bradley, she said, you have not even asked me how your procedure went.
I never
She
did
said,
that.
most people have this kind of procedure. They want to know, how did the procedure go? Did we find anything? Has the doctor come by yet? You asked none of. She was kind of upset with me.
I've never asked any of that when I come out of anesthesia.
No, is my lipstick still okay?
I've asked
You
for food
know,
and for my mom and
yeah,
more pain medicine, but not morphine because that'll
yeah,
make me sick. Yeah.
yeah.
I always wake up fussing.
Give me the morphine. That's the,
I
because I
can't
was
take it.
night night.
No, it
Yeah,
doesn't work.
yeah.
So there's that.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
do you think that as Black people we need to have more of these open discussions about the things that we don't normally talk about, because these are some of the things that um, a lot of times are not African American related. A lot of times, brain tumors are not,
Yeah.
fibromyalgia is not. One of the first things my neurologist told me was to go talk to my parents. And I
Mm-hmm.
said, well, my father is deceased. At that time, my mom was still living.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, you need to go and talk to your parents. He says, because every test that I've done on you to find out what's going on with you neurologically is coming back of Asian or European
Mm-hmm.
descent.
Yep.
And I
I have.
said, so I go to my mom, and if you're my mom, you know how old school, you
Mm-hmm.
don't ask those kind of questions. You know,
Like, child,
your
we
daddy
black.
Black,
We from Africa.
I'm Black, and all 8 of our children Black.
Yeah. My
Period.
mama was black. My daddy was black,
Yeah.
and we just
Don't
black.
ask me about that. I said, but mom, my neurologist said this is what's coming back, and we need to know this because
Mm-hmm.
he needs medical history.
Yeah.
So she chewed my head off. I go back to my neurologist and I said, well, my mom said that's not possible. It's just not possible. And so he said, I'm telling you,
Right.
it is very possible. He
Mm-hmm.
said, your medical, everything about you reads Asian and,
Mm-hmm.
or Oriental descent.
Mm-hmm.
He said, could you please go back and just
Mm-hmm.
tell her this is about your medical, we need to know so
Yeah.
we'll know how to treat you.
Mm-hmm.
So I go back and talk to her. And then finally she opens up and she tells me, she apologized to me, because I was like crying. I was like, Mom, I'm not trying to bring up any bad memories or
Yeah.
anything from the past, but you know, I gotta have some answers
Yeah.
because they don't know how to treat you if they don't know, a lot of where this may stem from.
Right.
And so, how do we, when I say we, I mean you and I collectively and everyone that may be watching, how do we get our Black community to open up more about these unseen disabilities, these unseen issues, even from dealing with depression and
Hmm.
anxiety? I remember I see my therapist every month, you know. And I remember telling her about this dream I kept having. And she said, well, that's the PTSD from when you was hemorrhaging.
Mm.
Because I have a tendency to do this a lot,
Hmm.
because I was actually going to sleep. And
Mm.
when I bent over, I felt something drop on my lip. And when I did this, it was like the floodgates open.
Mm.
So by the time I get to the emergency room, I still hemorrhaging to like second or third day. By
Hmm.
then, they still couldn't stop it. They was
Mm.
doing everything they can. So it was coming out my nose, my mouth, then it
Oh
started coming
God.
out my eye.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they didn't know what to do. So she said I was having anxiety
Hmm.
about anytime I feel a sniffle,
Yeah.
anytime I feel, she said my mind automatically goes into fear that I'm
Yeah.
going to have that
Start
hemorrhaging
hemorrhaging. Yep.
experience again.
Hmm.
So how do we get our community our community to open up about it and make them know it's okay?
I think, at least I know, like with my generation, those discussions are being had more frequently.
Hmm.
I know amongst myself, my friends, the people that I associate with, we have those discussions, um, because for so long things have been just kept under wraps, even
Yeah.
down to asking family history. Like I know for me, like I was 28, 27, getting ready to have a hysterectomy. And I'm like, what in the world? And they're asking family
Right.
history. My mom's like, well, I don't know. And
Yeah.
then, maybe like a week before my surgery, my grandma's like, oh yeah, I had that. And I'm like, but when I was asking, so there's so many things I've asked. And
Hmm.
then once I'm diagnosed, oh yeah, I had that. I had that. And I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, these are things like, so what I do is when I get the information, I share it with my
Right.
other female cousins,
Right.
especially the female cousins. And,
Okay.
I watched, most of my family, they have like the typical African American things. They got high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, obesity, those things. I don't
Right.
have those. I don't have any of that.
Right.
I got all of this completely different set of circumstances. I have two cousins that have lupus.
Hmm.
And so for a long time, they thought I had it too, because I actually do have like what they call the butterfly. I actually do
Hmm.
have that, and I have a lot of symptoms, but that's not what shows up in my blood. What
Hmm.
shows up in my blood is scleroderma.
Hmm.
Clearly, I don't have scleroderma because my
Hmm.
skin is not rigid.
Right.
And my doctor's like, I don't even understand what these tests mean. He's like,
Right.
this you clearly don't have this, but I think the more that we educate ourselves, the more we can educate other people
Hmm.
and not make it so that, okay, I have this thing. But the one thing I've always taught, even I have my youngest is autistic. You never let a disability disable you.
Well,
You
that's good.
do everything that you feel that you can do.
Hmm.
You never let someone tell you that, oh, no, you can't because of whatever. No, there's
Right.
nothing you can't do,
Right.
and that's something that keeps me going. I said, now there are things. I'm not going to go out here and climb a tree. I'm not going to
Right.
go out here and try to drive to Georgia. I'm not going to try to do any of those things because I'm not crazy.
Right. Look,
So,
I had to
you
stop
know,
driving to Florida by myself.
yes, yeah,
I was like, come on,
yeah,
Benita, you don't have anything to prove to anybody.
yeah. Plane ticket, and the flight is just so much faster. That's
Yeah.
that's what I know to be true.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but I said I think the discussions, I back in 2020 during
Hmm.
the pandemic,
Hmm.
I had what I called the Rose All Day
Hmm.
Girls Weekend.
Hmm.
And it was a, time for us to get away from our houses.
Hmm.
We literally were there, of course everybody had to get tested and all of that
Right.
stuff. Um, we we were able to just sit down and just talk about these things, get these things
Mhm.
out that we don't ordinarily have an opportunity to talk about.
Mhm.
And what you'll find out is that we are so much more alike than we are different. It
Right.
didn't, my best friend is from Wisconsin. I don't,
Mhm.
you may have met her once.
Yeah,
We met
and
in
then
the
I
Air
take
Force. We've
pictures
been
of
best
her as
friends
well.
for,
Mhm.
I don't even know how, a long, long time.
A
So
long
since
time.
before we were 20 years old, we weren't even
Right.
20.
Mhm.
So, but we were able to connect the dots
Mhm.
as to how we were drawn together
Right.
and talk about things like, illnesses and
Yeah.
patterns, and try to figure out like
Mhm.
why is it that people don't want to discuss this? What is
Yeah.
wrong with the discussion that will keep, people from saying, oh, well, we just don't talk about that. And that's
Yeah.
part of the problem, even with the younger generations. No one is talking.
Right.
Everyone's like, keep this in the house, keep this in the family. And we don't talk
Mhm.
about that. We don't talk about this. And we don't, there's so many things we don't talk about that it causes not only us to suffer, but our
Mhm.
children are suffering.
Yes.
And for me, I refuse to let my children suffer if
Mhm.
I'm seeing something going on
Yep.
and I'm not addressing it.
Right.
My
Mhm.
child was having migraines.
Mhm.
I took him to the hospital. They found
Mhm.
out he had what's called a pineal cyst
Mhm.
on his brain.
Mhm.
So we had to go, we had to get brain scans and brain scans and brain
Mhm.
scans until it got to a size where they felt like it wasn't growing anymore.
Mhm.
But
Okay.
had I just been like, take a Tylenol, take an Advil,
Right.
and not think about, okay, I suffer from migraines. His dad suffers from migraines.
Right.
My mom suffered from migraines.
Mhm.
Not, and not discussing those things and teaching him how to care for himself during them, because I'm not always going to be around. I need
Right.
him to understand, look, this is what you do, you
Mhm.
know. So I think the discussions are, I think they're being had more frequently now.
Yeah.
Um, just because most of us just don't want our kids to, I don't want
Yeah.
my kids to go through stuff that's unnecessary.
Yeah. Especially if we have equipped ourselves with information, um, both medical and and share our personal
Mhm.
experience, and I think, like we were talking about on the phone for a long time, Danita, and I hope I don't get emotional as we get ready to close. I've never cried on my show, um, and I don't hope this be tonight. But for a long time, I was so ashamed to tell anybody that I was disabled, because
Mhm.
if you just look at me, you can't tell that.
Right.
I was so ashamed to tell people that um, I it's been advised. Let me say it like this: it's been advised against me living alone.
Mhm.
Let me put it like that, medically
Yep.
speaking.
Mhm.
Um, I shared with you on the phone how I was embarrassed when I first had to get a disabled parking
Mhm.
permit, you know. And I think because, and especially being in church, because everything is demonized,
Right.
in church. If you have a sickness, then you pray about it. If you say it's depression, let us lay hands on you. If it's anxiety, you need to go on a fast. It's always something that
Right.
you don't need that they try to give you to
Right.
solve a medical issue.
Mhm.
They try to spiritualize something that's absolutely medical. And
Mhm.
if I can't really explain it to you, and if you're not a medical doctor, then you should
Mhm.
stop trying to diagnose me with the
Right.
scripture,
Right.
you know.
You stop
And
diagnosing me with demons that I don't have.
yeah, that I don't have, because now I'm really not going to come to you and
Mm-mm.
tell you that part of having any kind of brain injury or brain trauma is
Right.
depression.
Yes.
That's like high on the list. And
Hmm.
that's something that's not about, oh, I just don't feel sad. No, our
Right.
neurotransmitters are just like
Yeah.
this most of the time.
Yeah.
They're not connecting like they're
Right.
supposed to. They just, we don't feel like it today,
Hmm.
and there's nothing you can do. So for a long time I was so embarrassed.
Hmm.
I wouldn't date, you know, to this day. I'm still afraid to date. I'm just going to
Yeah.
be honest with you. I'm still afraid to let someone get that close to me, because then if I make a plan and then I'm having something
Hmm.
comes up during the time we make the plan and the time for us to execute that plan, then I got to say, well, I'm not feeling well. And then he
Right.
might think, oh, I'm just trying to be
He's
flaky or
right.
whatever. Then I might have to explain, no, this is because this, and
Hmm.
this. You were fortunate enough to have someone. I think you guys been married 2 years. Has it been 2 years
Yes.
yet?
Yeah. But
It's
I've had, when he met me, it wasn't as bad as it is now. And
right,
it wasn't even when our thing, we dated and we
right.
broke up for like a few years and then
Hmm.
we got back together. And so now we're married, but it
Yeah,
wasn't as bad. So he's seen kind of like the progression of things, how
right.
it's actually, you know, and I think living in the same household day to day,
Hmm.
he was able to see, oh, okay, so this is what's really going on. Because one of the things was I was not able to verbalize what was
Okay.
happening to me, like the depression, and it
Hmm.
just got really, really bad. And he was like, well, you could have told me. I was like, I couldn't. I
Right,
promise you, I could not.
right.
Though I could not explain to you because I didn't understand myself. Like, I don't know
Right,
what's happening.
right.
So that was something. So when we did get back together, that God did give me the verbiage that I needed to help him understand.
Hmm.
That way he could understand, okay, I'm not blowing you off. I'm not brushing you off.
Right.
I am just really, really, I'm having one of those days
Yeah.
that my body can't do anything else.
Right.
And so now, I'm noticing now even more that he'll say, okay, I got dinner. Don't worry about it. Because I'll go in
Hmm.
there, I'm trying. And he's like, nope, just go to bed.
Yeah.
And I've noticed now, like even my children,
Hmm.
my oldest one, when he was living at home, and then the baby, he's like, Mom, nope, I got it. Go to bed.
Yeah.
Nope, too much, you know, because I guess I have a look on my face. I don't know what
Yeah.
the look is, but it's like, okay, okay, because I'll sit down, and I'll get right back up, and I'm like, okay,
Hmm.
I just gotta, you know, I just gotta get this done. I gotta get it done. But my body is like, girl, if you don't
Girl,
sit down,
we're not doing
you
that.
the floor. And then they are like, we don't have time for you to
Yeah.
be on the floor. So,
Hmm.
when it comes to dating, I prayed and asked God how to word it so that he could understand where I was coming from. Because sometimes I don't feel like talking.
Right.
Sometimes I don't, I'm married, so it's like
Hmm.
I can't, I'm not here, don't touch me because my whole body feels like a headache. Like I got a
Yeah.
migraine on my whole body, the whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't breathe this way, just I'm just gonna go to my lady layer and I'm gonna be in there for a little bit until I can
Yeah.
see if I can pull it together.
Hmm.
But it takes a very understanding person. And I
Yes.
believe that whoever God has for individuals that suffer, it's almost like suffering in silence, that
Yes.
suffer different things like that. He has certain people that have that compassion
Hmm.
and understanding, that
Hmm.
they're not going to be offended because you say, I know that you made plans or you may have bought tickets to go to this, but right now I cannot do anything. Like,
Right.
you know, I almost had that same thing happen Saturday, like you were saying, have to cancel. We had tickets to go see Maxwell and Joe and Anthony Hamilton. I'm so excited.
Oh,
But we had a huge barometric pressure change. Like it
yes.
went from 73 degrees to
Yep.
30 something degrees and
30
snowing
something.
and ice. and
Yep.
my head was hurting so bad. Like,
Yep.
I had my pills, and like before I left, I grabbed my emergency pills and threw them in my purse, and I'm like, okay, now they got flashing lights, they got
Yep.
loud noise, and I'm like, okay. Thankfully we were still able to go. But,
Mm-hmm.
if it had been like one of those, like if that storm had started from Friday, by
Mm-hmm.
Saturday I would not have been able to go.
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
not have been able to go. I mean, and literally my head has been hurting since Saturday.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I get it.
So
I totally get it.
it just, you just, I always, when it came to, especially to dating after getting divorced, that's a whole different subject. But
Right.
dating, God, you're gonna have to give me somebody that understands me,
Yes. Yes.
understands how I communicate, and
Mm-hmm.
how, just that gets me, and it's
Yeah.
going to be there to understand, not just judge me.
Yep.
Because why you got this big tote of medicine? Every time we go somewhere, you got to take this and you got to take that.
Yeah.
You know,
Make you feel
but it
worse than you already
right.
do.
It's like
Yeah.
you act like I can control it. You act like I got a thing of narcotics, and I don't.
Right.
This is stuff so we can go eat.
Right.
This is my stomach bill, so we can, like, you said you wanted to go to dinner. I never
Right.
said I want to go to dinner. So you want
Right.
to go to dinner? Let me do what I got to do.
Right.
You
To
want to go
get
to a
to get
show?
it
Let me do what I
together.
have to do. But I'm thankful that my husband he's very understanding, very compassionate, and I'm grateful for that. Um,
Yes.
because it's necessary.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's necessary.
Yeah. I thank you so much for sharing your story. It has really encouraged me. Like I said, that's one of the things I absolutely, you know, fear the most is allowing a gentleman to get so close to me emotionally that I have to allow him to see all of
Mhm.
this, you know, all of
Yeah,
who I really am and all
yeah.
of what I
Hmm.
go through,
Hmm.
and then wonder, um, is that going to be acceptable, especially if it's somebody I really like,
Right.
you know, um, and just wonder about that, and then so that I don't wonder, I just keep everybody at a safe distance,
Hmm.
which is not what I really
Right.
want. It's
Right.
it's not my truth,
Right.
you know.
And at some point you have to learn to live in that truth,
Yeah,
and learn that this is not, God, he allows certain things to happen to certain people
yeah,
because he knows that you're equipped to go through it. But then on the
yeah,
flip side is you have to know that it doesn't matter. This is not what makes me.
right,
This is me. This is a part of me
right,
that, of course, we have to deal with it. But
right,
this is not all of me.
right,
And
right.
that's the thing. And being transparent can make you feel very vulnerable.
Yes.
But what I have found is in my vulnerability, it allowed them to show who they really are.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Say that again, Danita. That's good.
In my vulnerability,
Hmm.
it allowed me to see who they really were.
Yeah,
Are they in it just because, oh, for whatever reasons they were in it, or do they love me?
right.
Me.
The
Everything that
person.
is me.
Yes. The whole person.
Yes.
Yeah,
The crazy part,
yeah,
the really, really extra sensitive parts, you know what
yeah.
I'm saying? The
Uh-huh.
just me, the
Hmm.
sickness, when we get married, we say in sickness, and I didn't say that, but in the regular wedding vows, they say in sickness and
Right,
in health. But
right.
when you get married, you expect that person to be there in sickness
Yeah,
and in health. When I'm dating you and we've been dating for however long, I'm expecting you to understand in sickness and in health, just like,
yeah,
and I just believe that God always has just someone, a specific person that has that compassion that's going to show you, listen, it's okay to be vulnerable, because
hmm,
they will show their vulnerability as well, because
hmm,
none of us is perfect. We all have some things, and men, they feel just as much or even more
hmm,
afraid to kind of release those things. They have
hmm.
more walls up than we do,
Okay,
because their level of rejection is far higher than us. You see what I'm
okay.
saying? We can go
Hmm.
out, but for us, a lot of times our standard is so high, they don't even feel
Hmm.
like they should even try to approach the person, you know? So they deal with those vulnerabilities and things on a regular basis. And the fact that we feel free enough to let them in
Mm-hmm.
helps them let down their guard some. That's what I found. It
Okay.
allows them to say, well, you know what? I deal with this or I
Okay.
deal with that.
Okay.
You know,
That
that's
really
what I
helped me.
found.
Yeah, that helped me more than you know, because that's like, it's like something I carry,
Mhm.
and when I see someone trying to get too close, I'm quick to back them off,
And you'll
because
find anything or
any
something.
little thing,
Hmm.
any little thing. Well, why did you stop calling? Well, you was breathing funny on the phone, just anything, just anything. You said hello when I called you the last time, just any little thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Hmm.
So
Yeah.
listen, Danita, I thank you so much
You're
for
very
for
welcome.
being my guest. You don't even know how much you have helped me. I know you were a guest for my audience, but listen, you don't know how much you have helped me um, be able to come from behind this wall that
Hmm.
I live behind. You know, I literally live behind this wall, you know, and and it's for all the reasons we talked about here,
Hmm.
you know, and as transparent as I am, um, the one area of my life that I want to be transparent in, that's the area I keep everybody out.
Hmm.
This, no, you getting too close, you're doing too much, you know. Nope, you make me feel too vulnerable. Nope, nope, nope.
Right.
Make me want to tell you stuff I'm not ready to tell you, and I don't know how you gonna take it, because my head hurting today, and I
Yeah.
don't know how
Hmm.
people take that sometimes, but you have
Yeah.
certainly shed a lot of light, like for real, behind the wall that I've built for myself, even to the point where I'm literally like, in my spirit, I'm ready to start removing those
Yeah.
bricks. Like
Yeah.
for real, for real.
And sometimes it's one brick at a time.
Yeah,
You find the thing that is least hard to talk about.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Wow. Danita, thank you so much for being our
Thank you.
guest.
Thank you
You
for
have been
having
an
me.
absolute pleasure and very insightful, very insightful. And I do hope that our guests really, really honed in on the fact that if we don't have these discussions, like,
Mhm.
we not only hurt ourselves, but we hurt the next generation, the
Yeah,
next generation, the next
absolutely.
generation, and the next generation. And at some point, we have to have the difficult conversations.
Absolutely.
We
Yep.
have to. There's
Definitely
no way
important.
around. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So, if you had to say anything to male or female dealing with an unseen disability that maybe they're afraid to tell someone they're dealing with it, whether it be um, medical, mental, psychological,
Mhm.
what would be your best advice to them?
I feel like let's see, how do I put it? I'm very selective
Hmm.
who I'm around.
Hmm.
And I surround myself with people who are compassionate, who are understanding,
Mm.
who, I may not know what their vulnerabilities are, but we all have them.
We all have them.
That don't, so it's about, for me, it's about giving myself grace to be me
Hmm.
and surrounding myself with people who accept me exactly how I am.
Okay.
I'm rough sometimes. I'm real
Hmm.
nice most of the time, but I'm rough sometimes.
Hmm.
I can talk harsh sometimes,
Hmm.
but those people, those are people that keep me grounded because they'll
Hmm.
call me on my stuff.
Hmm.
But when you have different disabilities, those people, if they have not heard from me, they're going to call. They're going to say, are you okay? Do I need to do anything? Do you need some soup? I'll DoorDash. I'll do, whatever to get it to you. Surround yourself with people, not necessarily people that are going through the same thing you're going through, but people who are for you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then don't give yourself grace to
Mm-hmm.
go through what you're going through,
Mm-hmm.
and don't allow that disability to disable you and to keep you from actually living. So
Living.
the days that you are not, you know, in overwhelming, whatever it is, agony
Mm-hmm.
from, depression, anxiety, whatever it is that you're dealing with,
Mm-hmm.
those days, live your life.
Yeah.
Live your life.
Mm-hmm.
Go outside, see the world, communicate, go here, go that, do live.
Yeah.
Okay. 'Cause you can get so bound up in, oh, I have this illness, that you just forget to, you get so caught up in that. Don't allow those things to disable you as a human being.
Mm-hmm.
Live.
Mm-hmm.
That's my biggest thing, is just live. Live your life.
Just
Don't
live.
live. Get
Yeah.
out and live. You
Yeah.
know, we're here for however long we're here.
Yeah.
And I would never want to regret not
Living.
experiencing
Yeah.
something. So if I got to take 15 pills with me every day to do that, and guess what?
That's what
I'm
we're
gonna grab my
doing.
little tote bag and we're going. So just allow yourself to live. Give yourself grace to accept who you are, grace to
Mm-hmm.
accept what you have,
Mm-hmm.
and then live.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what I would say too. I just echo that sentiment exactly. When I go to my doctor's appointments, I get completely dressed.
That's
Stiletto
right.
boots, honey,
That'll be
wigs.
you.
I do it all. I do it all. My doctors be like, wow,
Where
do you
you
have a
going?
date after this appointment, Benita? I'm like, no, I'm coming to see you. So, I mean, but you have to, like you said, you have to just keep going
Hmm.
because the only other alternative is to stop.
Yep.
And we've
Can't do
come
that.
too far to stop. And I just
Absolutely.
believe I've come too far. And to our audience, you've come too far to stop
Absolutely.
now. And I want to just encourage anyone, if you came in late, go back and watch this on the replay. Those of you that are watching on YouTube, go back and watch the replay. Instagram, thank you all so much. Facebook, Periscope, Twitter, thank you all for being here. Danita, thank you so much for being transparent and for helping so many people. I know you helped me tonight on that end part. You really helped me a lot on that. I'm serious. You helped me so much on that. I just might go on a date, you know.
Listen, date. Go on a date. Enjoy yourself. Live your life.
I might just say yes to somebody.
That might be that's probably a good step.
Yeah, yeah. So thank you so much.
You're
And
very welcome.
listen,
Thank you for having
I'm
me.
here, and hopefully we can do this again. Hopefully we'll
Sure.
do this
Absolutely.
again. All right.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you
All right.
and have a
You're
good evening.
welcome.
All
You as
right.
well.
Bye
Thank
bye.
you. Bye bye.
All right, audience. Thank you guys for staying with us. And we certainly appreciate um, our guests being with us tonight. And I'm going to end this session Thursday night. Some of you have called me, some of you have inboxed me. Thursday night, Jason Madison will be back with us. Um, he is the host of Life After Collar with J Mad. He was here last Thursday, and we only got to 2 questions. He's going to be back Thursday. So make sure those of you, you know who I'm talking to, you wanted to get the rest of his story. He will be back Thursday right here at 7 o'clock. Okay. So make sure you tune in um, right here Thursday at 7 o'clock so you can hear the rest of his story. And the funny part is, we only got to 2 questions. So it's a lot more that you want to stay tuned for. And Also, also, uh, we have a surprise guest coming up uh, first week of April. This particular gentleman, he went viral, and I don't want to tell you too much, but I will say this. There was a slap heard around the world. He'll be with us April, I think that's April 5th. Whatever that first Tuesday is in April. I don't have my calendar in front of me. He'll be here that night, okay? So set your notifications. Hold on one second. Set your notifications and make sure you tune in, okay? All right. Bye-bye.